Welcome back to our course on SAP Materials Management. The primary goal of SAP Materials Management is to make sure that materials are always available in proper quantities without any shortage in the organization's supply chain. Also, SAP Material Management supports the buyers and purchasing departments and planners to buy materials in cost-effective way, and also there is any change in the business requirements or business supplies and to accommodate them. In this session, we will discuss what are the basic elements in materials management and how they are required to complete and carry out the transaction material management. That is what we will be discussing in this session. Before going into the session, let us see the answers of previous sessions quiz. So what are the three basic entities in business? The three basic entities are suppliers, manufacturers, and customers. Because the business will have a lot of suppliers, many manufacturers, many customers. Also, we discussed the complexity is more and a lot of relationship, like a supplier may be customer, customer may be supplier. Every entity should add value, they should make money. All those things we discussed. What are the three basic flows in business? Material flow, cash flow, and information flow. Material flow is going from supplier to manufacturer, manufacturer to customer. Cash flow is going from customer to manufacturer, manufacturer to supplier. Information flow should happen in both the directions. So that's very important. In operations planning and control, which is important to improve the business productivity of any organization, feedback is very important. We discussed. Is it true or not? It's true. Because with the proper feedback only, corrective actions can be taken on timely basis to improve overall operations and overall improvement in the business. Visibility and velocity, these are the two things we discussed. We asked them, these two belong to which business flow? These two belong to information flow mainly. Visibility is what? It is availability of information across the supply chain. Velocity is the speed at which it is available. Information should be available online. That is critical. So the visibility, velocity related to information flow. Velocity may be related to material also with respect to lead time. When you are talking about visibility and velocity together means it is information flow. So MM is a core functionality in any SAP S/4HANA implementation. So MM can be also defined as the engine that drives the supply chain within SAP system, and it is a highly integrated. So in this session, we will see what are the key elements required to set this important function. So this is the overview of the business, where there is a forecast, there is a sales plan. Based on this, that production plan is made, from which master scheduling, material requirement planning is happening. The production plan will consider the constraints like warehouse constraint and capacity constraints. And based on MRP, metal will be procured, stored, and it will be produced. To produce the metal will be issued. The produced products will be received, and then they will be sold to the customer. In this, material management plays important role in this procuring materials, storing materials, goods issue, goods receipt, physical inventory and inventory management, and many other things. But as overall business process, this is the role of material management. What are the business process transactional steps in procurement flow? That is procure to pay process. This is the entire procure to pay process. It starts with the determination of requirements. The determination of requirement is that user department, they decide what do they need. That need may be defined as a purchase requisition manually creation, or it may be automatically created through the function like a material requirement planning, MRP. So the next step is to create the source determination. Source determination is the place where you are finding out what are the supplier or what are the best possible sources available, and we can use the determination of the source function to create the request for quotation and then send the quotations to them, compare the quotations, and by comparing the quotations we can do the vendor selection. In vendor selection, what is happening? The system will simplify the selection of vendors by making price comparisons between various quotations. Now we are getting some more options also to compare other points. So based on this, we can create the collections. Here there is option to send some rejection letters also directly from here. Once it is done, purchase order is getting processed. So vendor selection is done. So we are converting the purchase request to purchase order. We are sending the purchase order to the supplier. The purchase order is giving the information about what the need by the organization formally to the customer. Once it is sent, the purchase order must be monitored. The buyer should monitor the processing of the purchase order at any time, and you should also define when the material has to come, when the invoice has come, all those things he should monitor. And then the goods is set. Based on the purchase order, supplier will send the materials, and then we have to receive the materials. Once the materials are received, the invoice verification, as we discussed, it may be two-way match or three-way match. The recommendation is to do the three-way match. And then based on this, finance is doing the payment processing. So this is the procure to pay process or material management process. So what are the key elements in SAP S/4HANA to implement the activities what we discussed so far? It starts with master data. Master data is very, very important and critical. This is what we discussed now, key success factors. People, process, and data. Why it is important? Garbage in, garbage out. What we give as input, that is what the output will get. So defining master data is very important. So what are the master data we are going to use? So one is the material master, and then business partner. Earlier it was just vendor master, now it is business partner. And then we have purchase info record, the conditions, source list, and the source determination. These are the master data defined in SAP S/4HANA MM to do the procure to pay process. And then what are the purchasing processes involved? Purchase process involved creation of purchase requisition, and then creating the request for quotation. Based on request for quotation, then doing the analysis of quotations, and then creation of purchase orders or schedule agreements, and then external service management, and the special procurements. So the special procurements may be different types. It may be like a stock transfer between two plants, interplant, or it may be withdrawal from another plant, or it may be a subcontracting process, or it may be a consignment process, or it may be pipeline materials getting. Like this, different kind of procurement types will be there. We will be discussing some specific special procurement types later in this course. Continuing the key elements of processes in S/4HANA MM. Next is the material requirements planning, MRP, and then inventory management, which contains goods issue and goods receipt, physical inventory, goods returns, reservations, and stock transfers, and then invoice verification and reports and analytics. So these are the different processes involved. So we saw the master data required and also different processes involved. In the processes, what are the different types of special procurement type also we saw. So MM is one of the modules which is highly integrated with the other modules like finance, controlling, production planning, sales and distribution, plant maintenance, quality management, and warehouse management. A purchasing process normally starts with purchase requisition. Purchase requisition are internal documents that are used to request the department, the purchasing department, to procure a specific material or service in a specified quantity and a specified date. Purchase requisitions may be handed over directly to purchase, or it may be through the release procedure. And the purchase requisition can be created manually or from MRP through system. When we create the purchase requisition in system which is having metal master record already, so there are some details which can be copied from metal master to the info record, so that the entry of details into purchase info record can be reduced. The purchase requisition are then converted into either request for quotation or a scheduling agreement or as a purchase order, depends on what should be done for that material. Once it is established that there is a need of the material where the purchase requisition is created and it is also approved, then purchasing department has to convert the purchase requisition to the purchase order. But before converting purchase requisition to purchase order, if that material was not purchased earlier, or there was some need of changing supplier, or there was some issue in the supplier current who is supplying, because of these things probably they may need to find out a new supplier. So in this case they will go for request for quotation. So the request for quotation will be entered for the relevant material or the relevant service, and then this is done with respect to that particular purchase requisition. And these details are sent to different vendors like vendor A, vendor B, and vendor C, and details are collected. And these things are now collected and compared, right? The quotations will be collected and compared. Once we get the quotations from the suppliers, then the quotations are compared with respect to price, the days, what is that lead time, and also other factors. So based on these things, either the quotations may be accepted or quotations may be rejected. So there are options to send the rejection letter directly to suppliers from system itself. The accepted quotations will be later converted into scheduling agreement or purchase order. Scheduling agreement will be given like where we are creating an agreement, for example, like 1 year a term is determined, and then only the schedule will be sent. Purchase order is where we release the purchase order, send the material against that particular purchase order. Like this, there will be options. A purchase order is a formal request sent to a vendor to supply certain goods or services under the stated conditions. You can create purchase orders without reference or with reference to a purchase requisition or request for quotation or any other purchase order. When we enter the purchase order data, the system will suggest default values which are coming from your info record or metal master. And also it may suggest any ordering address, also other terms of payment, freight, etc. Provided we maintain these details in the metal master and the info record. And then once the purchase order is taken, if it is external supplier or whoever it is, a printout will be taken and sent to them. If it is interplant, mostly it is transferred through the system itself. Intercompany also it is through the system. There is also option that purchase orders can be released. For example, there is a value which has to be approved by management to some levels. Levels of release also there. Release procedure also will be there where they can submit it for approval. They release it, then only it will be given to the supplier. That is also the checkpoint can be fixed. Goods receipt are the processes used to receive the metal from the external vendor or interplant or intercompany, which are supplied against the purchase order. Also, goods receipt may be done against the in-house production orders. And the goods receipt are used to create the inventory in the system for entering the metal received through the purchase orders or the production orders. Goods receipts are important because they move the metal into the stock, updating the stock levels and allowing production to occur. Based on from this only stock can be issued to the production. Every company has their own procedure for the receipt of materials. And this receipt methodology has to be considered when the functionality of goods receipt is adopted from SAP. If a material is received into stock, whether it is to unrestricted or quality, the value of the material is posted in the plant accounts. Once it is coming to the plant itself, the value is accounted, which means that material is becoming as an inventory value of the organization. Posting a goods without reference to purchase order also may happen. Like a receiving point, delivery is the same as the purchase order data, or whether the goods that were ordered have been delivered. With these things, there may be some without reference to the purchase order also. I'm sorry. Post a goods receipt with reference to purchase order. It's not without purchase order, with reference to purchase order. There's a lot of advantages. Because the goods receiving point, we can check whether the delivery is done as per the purchase order. Also, the purchase order monitoring, whether we can do them. Also, it makes easy to understand the over delivery, under deliveries, whether they're allowed or not. And also, purchase order history is getting updated automatically. So, goods receipt has to be done against the purchase order. That is the best practice we have to follow. And when do this goods receipt, system post metal document which contains information of the metal delivered and also the quantity received. Also, system will record what is the store location in which we store the material. Also, the transaction allowance for metal valuation, system will create a accounting document. So it will also create the impact on the general ledgers. Goods issue for the materials is like issuing metal for production order, or issuing the metal for sampling or scrapping, or internal goods issue against cost centers, or it may be for subcontracting or for delivery. For each of the goods issue, system will create both financial transactions documents and material documents. Inventory counting is another important actions which has to be done, which are done as part of the material management if there is no warehouse management. So what are the steps which are involved, like prepare the physical counting, create the physical inventory document, perform the counting, if there is any difference, do the analysis, post the difference and close the document. These are various steps. We'll be seeing a detailed procedure when the relevant time has come for this course. Then service procurement. Like external service management incorporates functionality that is relevant to procurement and execution of services in a company. The service master record is a document that contains transformation of the service. The service specification are listed as the services that can make a particular task or project that a company is looking to procure. Services can be planned using service master record. These are mostly they are unplanned, which means instead of referring to a service master, they also refer monetary limit of the services planned. That is also option. So the service process involves like a purchase request will be there. There will be order which is created, and service entry will be done, and the supplier will do the service. Then service will be performed, and based on which payment will be done. Requirement determination will be done either manually or through system MRP. This is what one thing we discussed. So MRP will act like this. So there will be sales order and demand management and independent requirements. These are called independent requirements, based on which MRP will run. MRP will create a dependent requirements for further requirements which has to come based on the bill of materials. The MRP will also give these planned orders, and also it will trigger purchase requisition schedule lines. And then this planned orders will be converted into production orders. Purchase requisition will be converted into purchase orders. From purchase orders, goods are received into the warehouse stock, and then these will be consumed in the production. With this, the process will be completed in the material requirement planning. Here, there will be activities involved like a capacity requirement planning and also costing activities involved. In invoice verification, there will be three-way match. That is, the details in purchase order, goods receipt, and invoice will be compared. Also, there is option to check any duplicate invoice. If there is a duplicate invoice submitted by a supplier, the system is having option to check this duplication of invoice so that it can stop entering this invoice for any further processing. So in this session on introduction to material management, we discussed how material management in general is in business, what are the functionalities and master data in SAP, that is the key elements, and what are the integration of material management with other modules. And also we discuss a brief introduction to various purchasing processes, starting from purchase requisition until the goods receipt, goods issue, physical verification. It is time to see some of the quiz questions of this session. So what are the key master data for procure to pay, that is materials management? List some special procurement types. We listed now, we discussed some special procurement type. Just to give some 2-3 examples. What are the modules integrated with MM, right? Because we listed out 6-7 modules. At least you have to give 3 modules, 4 modules, sorry. And purchase requisitions can be created manually only, true or false. So what is the purpose of getting quotations from vendors? And goods receipt can be done only from purchase, true or false. So these are the questions. Another question is also there. What is three-way match? Okay, so these are the questions or quiz for this session. Answers for this session we'll discuss in the next session. Having introduced material management in S4HANA, we'll discuss the fundamentals of S4HANA MM in the next session, starting with organization structure in SAP S4HANA. Please give your feedback to improve the flow and contents. Suggest your friends and colleagues to subscribe to the channel to get the benefit. Thank you. See you in the next session. Take care and bye.